What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is Married at First Sight, season 12, episode 7. So the honeymoon is over. We are headed back home. We left off with Haley and what is his name? Josh. Isn't it Josh? Having a huge blow up. It didn't get any better. Now, Haley's side of the story is, hey, I was texting with some of the ladies. We decided to meet up for some drinks. He came down and got mad. His version of the story is, she told him it was going to be a girls thing. And when he got down there, the guys were there. And so she felt like he set her, that she purposely told him that it was just the girls so he wouldn't come because she didn't want him there. I feel like it could be exactly what she said, and that the guys, so like, I feel like it could have just been one of those organic situations where the girls were meeting up for drinks and the guys were kind of around and it ended up being a thing. Do I think she purposely X'd him out? I don't. But because they're already having problems, of course he's going to probably believe the worst, because they're already having issues. They're already having some problems. So that's that. She changed the seat on the plane because she said, I just feel like we need some time. Okay. Paige and Chris, listen. I'm going to get to Paige and Chris. But Chris decided that he wasn't going to go to Atlanta. He was going to go to Chicago because he needed a few days to get himself together and process. So Paige ended up moving. So they all got back to Atlanta and they were moving into their new apartment. They all live in the same apartment complex. It looks like they're like 2-bedroom apartments. So that they're on neutral ground, which is respect. That makes sense. That nobody feels like there's any ownership because they're all on neutral ground. They've got 7 weeks to decide if they're going to stay together and what that's going to look like. Who's going to live with who, if they're going to buy their own house, like all of that. They have 7 weeks to figure that out. So, or 6 weeks now. And so I think that's a cool idea, I think. So she's moving into the apartment by herself because he's not there. Now, on this episode, what we saw was that the couples were moving in. So the couples each saw each other's house. They, packed up, helped them pack up the necessities and things like that to help make the house a home. They're going to be living there for 6 weeks. So they had to get, whatever stuff they didn't take with them on their honeymoon. Regular clothes, work clothes, shoes. They had to get their pets. Lord, I feel like all of them got dogs. Oh my gosh, they had to get their pets and all of that. So for the most part, and then they met with Dr. Cow, who's also a pastor. Or is it Pastor Cow? Is he a doctor and a pastor, or am I just giving him a title and he a pastor? Either way, I know he a pastor, so I'm gonna stick with Pastor Cow. Here's the thing, y'all. For the most part, what we saw was pretty much what we already are seeing with these couples. When Haley and Josh got to the apartment, they had this huge fight, and Josh, I feel like Josh was going way left, like he was putting 10 on 20. However, he explained that he's been played like this before, and so this is a situation where you're bringing your baggage. This is a situation where you're bringing in outside situations and sort of connecting this situation to that. So because you've been disrespected in the past by other women or another woman, doesn't have to be a pattern, you automatically think the worst or thought the worst because you and Haley were having problems and he accused her of having a boyfriend and all this other stuff, right? Excuse me. They end up sleeping in separate rooms that first night. He did come back and apologize to her, but they're just in a really bad place. They're in a really bad place. I think it looks like she has like maybe a townhouse. Her townhouse was really nice and neat, all that good stuff. His house was cool. He's doing renovations, so the upstairs wasn't really available. He's sort of living in the basement and the first floor. It looked really nice from what I saw. But baby, the basement is just the 80s. Like, he is really, really obsessed with the 80s. And I really don't know why. Well, no, I do know why. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Well, I think I know why. I ain't gonna say I know why. I'm just saying from my perception. When he's talking to Dr. Cow, I called him a doctor again. Pastor Cal. Later on in the episode, and I called him Josh, it's Jacob. Haley and Jacob, not Josh. I'm sorry, it's Jacob. Later on in the episode, he asked him the same thing. He was like, why are you so obsessed with the 80s? And oh, I'm sorry, y'all. He said, why are you so obsessed with the 80s? And he was like, I don't know. I mean, it just seemed like a nicer time, a good time. I feel like the 80s was his childhood, and that's when he grew up. That's the time period he sort of grew up in, because he's like he's I think early 40s, so the 80s was his childhood. And there's a part of him that's this nostalgia to his childhood. Not that he doesn't want to be an adult, but at a certain point you have to let that go. And Haley told him, like, that really is weird to me. I'm not as obsessed with the 80s as you are. I don't really like it like that. And Haley has no connection to the 80s. Like, every time he throws out a 80s reference, she has no clue. Like, when he was like, yeah, I have a genuine, authentic members only jacket. And she was like, I don't even know what that is. First of all, Jacob, members only jackets weren't cool when members only was out. At least not in my circle of friends. Nobody was like, ooh, Ma, can I have a members only jacket? You know. Now, if you had like the Thriller jacket, I'd be like, yeah, everybody wanted that Thriller jacket. But the members only jacket? No. Nobody wanted the members only jacket. But I do think, Jacob, there's a deeper thing there, and you gotta let it go. Like, you gotta come out of the 80s. It's cool to like stuff from that era. Hell, I like stuff from that era. That is my childhood as well. I love movies from the 80s and music from the 80s and 90s. Like, that is my childhood. Like, I get the connection, but there's a point of being nostalgic, and then there's a point of being obsessive. And Jacob seems obsessed with the 80s, and that's not healthy. But him and Haley, they're having some problems with the pets. He's got 3 dogs. She's got 1 dog. The dogs don't seem to like each other that much, so that's going to be a problem. They're in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 dogs. That's just, I don't know how that's going to work. Even if the dogs were getting along, 4 dogs in a 2-bedroom apartment, that's a lot. But Haley said that, you know, she's just really trying hard to get comfortable, because it's just a big adjustment for her. Ultimately, I just think that she's just not attracted to him, and it ain't growing. And the fact that I told y'all what happened. They had sex, it wasn't good. And they ain't really have a whole lot to fall back on. See, if you in love with somebody and you have sex with them and the sex ain't good, you will make excuses. You will work with them because you have feelings. But if there are no feelings there, y'all ain't connected by nothing, and the sex ain't good, I'm just saying. Clara and Ryan. So we get to Ryan's house. It's really neat on the outside, but baby, Ryan is a little junky. Okay, Brian is like one of those people. Like, she opened up one of his cabinets in the kitchen, and the shelf was broken. And instead of fixing the shelf, baby, he just had food on the shelf. The shelf was leaning like this. He just had his food right on that leaning shelf. Like, fuck it. Listen, the food ain't falling out. So, you know, but he has a cute house, you know, apartment or house. I think it's a house. Claire has a nice apartment, you know. Virginia and Brian has a really nice it's clearly a bachelor pad. And he was like, some of this stuff came with the house, like, you know, this is how it came with it. But it is clearly a bachelor pad. I mean, it's got like the whole light up fireplace straight out of Boomerang. Y'all remember when Eddie Murphy had that light up, like that flip the switch fireplace in Boomerang Child? It was very much that. And of course, Virginia's house is, you know, she got pictures everywhere. She's very social with her and her, you know, her family and all of that good stuff, friends and stuff like that. Vince and Brianna. Vince's apartment was nice. You know, she said it was neat. And of course, she wasn't expecting it to be neat, because he had, in her mind, been a little junky on the honeymoon. Now, let's be clear. He ain't junky. She just a little obsessive compulsive, okay? I don't think he's necessarily junky, but she was like, I just pick up behind people. And she seemed like one of those people that will pick up behind you when you ain't done with whatever it is you're doing. Like, you could be going through your luggage, and yes, you might have stuff on the floor because you're still going through your luggage, but because that whole OCD thing, but because it's bothering them, they're going to pick it up. I ain't asked you to pick it up. I wasn't done. I'm going through my luggage. I'm trying to figure something out. I'm trying to find them drawers that I packed that I know I have, and I can't find them. Can you leave my stuff alone until I'm done? And when I'm done and I still leave a mess, do you? You know what I'm saying? They get to Brianna's apartment, child. She got so much. He was like, when he saw how many clothes she had and how many pairs of shoes she had, he was sort of taken aback. He was like, oh my goodness. And she does have a lot, but I can't say nothing because her closet look about like what my closet look like, so I can't really say too much about it. Then, so Pastor Kyle then came and visited all of them. So I'm gonna say Paige and Chris for last. I'm gonna get the rest of this out the way, and we're gonna get to them too. But for the most part, when Pastor Kyle talked to them, the issues that they're having are the same issues that we've already seen. Claire and Ryan, it's the intimacy thing. I thought they said they had sex, but they said they ain't had sex yet. But they said they've been sexual, but they have not had full intercourse yet. And Claire is ready to get it in. Ryan is moving a little bit slower. Whatever. Also, I've never told a woman I love them before. That's a whole situation that they got to work on, you know. But I think their issues can be worked out. I do. I think I like them. I think they can work through it. I think they're gonna just have some adjustments and some growing pains of getting to know, just getting to know each other. Helion and Jacob, I kind of already gave you guys the rundown with Helion and Jacob. I feel like I'm missing a couple. Virginia and Brian, their issue is going to be Virginia not wanting to change her lifestyle and adjust to the fact that she is married now. She wants to still go out with her friends, and she would do stuff like be at her guy friend's house and pass out on the couch, and she doesn't seem to understand why Brian has a problem with that. And he was like, you're married now. Like, it is not acceptable for you to spend the night at another man's house. I get it that he's your friend. I get it that y'all do it all the time, but that's what you did when you were single. You don't do that when you're married. It's not appropriate. It's not cool, and I'm not cool with it. Also, going out without telling me you're going out. He was like, you making it seem like I want you to ask me permission. And it's not that I want you to ask me permission, but it's cool. Like, I'm your husband. I should know where you are. And Pastor Kyle put it in a great way, because he told her the same thing. He was like, that's not cool. Like, you can't sleep at other men's houses when you're married. Like, that's not what married people do. It's not okay. Especially when y'all didn't build that up. This is all new for him. He don't know these men. He don't know your background with these men. He don't know if you've ever had a relationship with them in the past. He doesn't know. But Pastor Kyle put it in a really good way. He said, he's the head of the household, and his job is to protect you. How can he protect you and you're not under the roof with him? How can he protect you when he doesn't know where you are? It's not about asking permission. It's just about being respectful of the relationship. And you should want the same from him. You shouldn't be cool with him wanting to spend the night at some woman's house that you never met. You don't know nothing about their relationship. You shouldn't be cool with him being out running the streets and you don't know where he is. Again, it's not about permission. It's just a respect level. And I feel like that's not, like, I get it, but I feel like, Virginia, that shouldn't be rocket science for you to understand. So that's going to be their biggest issue, is that Virginia ain't really trying to change her lifestyle. I think Virginia just wants a man in her bed when she's ready to have a man in her bed. Because the other thing she said was, there are going to be times when I'm going to need some time to myself and some days alone. And he was like, I'm a pilot. Like, I travel a lot. Like, you're going to have a lot of alone time. So when I'm home, I feel like we should have us time. I don't feel like there should be any alone time when we're alone, when I'm home. Because I travel a lot anyway for my job. Vince and Brianna. So here's Vince and Brianna's problem. Vince and Brianna's problem is Vince has been really, really nice and letting Brianna say whatever she want to say, talk to him crazy, and he ain't been checking her. And what's going to end up happening is it's going to build up, and then she going to blow up at him. I mean, he's going to blow up at her, which is what ended up happening at the end of the episode, which is what Pastor Kyle tried to warn them about. Like, you can't let this stuff build up. You can't pretend like this stuff ain't going on and that it's not bothering you, because what's going to happen is you're going to build, and then you're going to blow up. And at the end of the episode, that's what happened. She kept kind of, he popped some champagne and it ended up going everywhere, spilling on the floor. And she kept making these little comments. Oh, that's so Vince of you. Oh, that's so Vince of you. Oh my goodness. Of course you're making a mess. Of course it would. And a part of her, I do think she was joking. But there becomes a time where enough is enough and don't nobody want to hear that no more. Like, okay, I spilled the damn champagne. You made a joke. Let's move on. But she'd been doing stuff like that, and it's like when they first came into the apartment and he didn't take his shoes off, and she was like, see, you messing up already. See, again, you're treating him like he's your child and not like an equal partner. I get it that there are people like, no, take your shoes off before you come in my house. And you should. I get it. I get it that you don't walk around the house in your outdoor shoes. I get it. But there's a way to say it without it being patronizing and coming off as you're my child. And of course, because Vince waited until he blew up, then Brianna was upset because she was just like, well, where is this coming from? Like, where is this coming from? So that didn't end on a good note with the two of them. But I think they'll work their way through it. Again, they still my favorite couple. I still like them. I'm still rooting on y'all. If this was Vegas, I'd have $20 on y'all to make it, okay? But, you know, couples argue. Couples argue, so. All right, now let's get to Paige and Chris. Let's deal with them. Okay. So Chris went to Chicago instead of going to Atlanta. He said he needed a few days to get it together. So when he came back, he called Paige and told Paige he needed to talk to her. He gets to the apartment. He won't let the cameras film. He won't let the cameras film. He won't let the cameras hear the conversation. He took his mic off. And essentially, what he ended up saying to her was, him and his ex are going to get back together, and he wants a divorce. So, of course, Paige is upset. She's talking to the producers, and she started off crying and upset. And by the end of the conversation, she's cussing and pissed off. And telling him, I'm done. I'm going to do this meeting with Pastor Kyle, but after that, I am done. I am done. I am done. Okay. So Paige shows up. She's by herself. They don't know whether Chris is coming or not. And she gets to talking to Pastor Kyle. And she's telling him what's going on. I'm sure he had like the Cliff Notes version, but he wanted her to tell the story from her point of view. And so she told him what happened. She started from the beginning with the wedding. And she said that she slept with him that first night because she felt a little bit of pressure. She felt like that, you know, he kept saying, you're my wife now, you're my wife now, you're my wife now. And she sort of felt a little pressure to sleep with him. And I do understand that. I'm not going to say that she did or she didn't. I mean, she said it was consensual. She's not saying that he forced her to have sex. She's just saying that he was very insistent about them consummating their marriage. And then she told him that the next morning they had sex again. And then he told her he wasn't attracted to her. Then she told him about the baby, her getting about the ex-fiance and that. And then she told him about the conversation. And he said, well, let me ask you this. Have you guys been intimate? She said, yeah, we've been intimate throughout. And he was like, why? Why are you still sleeping with this man? And she was like, well, I just, I really was just trying to make it work. And I really wanted to just, I'm basically, like I've been saying, Paige, you're leaning too much into, oh, well, this is God put us together and the experts put us together and I'm doing everything. This is my husband and I'm going to make it work. Listen, it's more to marriage than sex. And I'm sorry, but that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. And I'm sure that the more she was talking out loud, the more she heard herself and probably the sillier she heard herself. I feel bad for Paige from the point of view of this woman is really putting her heart out there and it's getting stomped on. Chris is a bitch. He has no respect for her. He has no respect for this process. He is a selfish ass. So then he ends up showing up. And he reiterates, because Pastor Cal was going in. And then Chris showed up. And you could tell he wasn't even here for it. When Chris went to go shake his hand, he was like, yeah, all right, what's up, bro? Like, I was like, and he reiterated the situation, like, I'm going to try to make things work with the mother of my child. I just got this thing about my child, being raised and me not being, being able to raise my child and all this. And Pastor Cal was like, you can raise your child and not be living in the same house. Like, living in the same house with them, it doesn't have nothing to do with you. And, that's the other thing. When Pastor Cal was like, well, how pregnant is she? 6 weeks. He was like, so we were already in this process when he was sleeping with other women. So we were knee deep in this like, he had committed to this process, and he was still sleeping with his ex-girlfriend, his ex-fiance. So that's another thing that I think irritated him as well. And Pastor Cal told her, like, he said, listen, I do this for a living. This ain't just for TV. I do this for a living. I'm fine with a divorce. Like, I'm not even gonna press this out. I'm not gonna tell you need to work it out. I ain't gonna tell you need to try to make this work. I'm fine with you getting a divorce. So then Chris, he was like, he was just real apologetic, and and Pastor Kyle said, listen, there's a reason why you broke up with this woman the first time. There's a reason why it didn't work the first time. There's a reason. So why you think it's gonna work now just because you add a baby to the mix? So when they getting ready to leave, Chris goes to hug her, and he says, he's whispering something in her ear, right? Of course, we can't hear him because he's talking all low and shit. So she tells the producers later on, well, what he was saying in my ear was he was afraid to fall in love with me. Bitch, he married you. He was supposed to fall in love with you. Chris, what the hell are you talking about? See, Chris is playing games, and Paige, you're allowing him to. You are allowing him to play games. I don't understand why you are still playing these games with this boy. I don't. I don't know why you're allowing this to happen. Now, what they showed us on this episode, they left out in the parking garage. Chris got in his car. She got in her car, whatever. And, of course, now she's like, he's telling her that he's really sorry to hurt her, and, that he, and now she's second guessing, talking about, I just don't know. Is this what it's, I just don't know what's in the future for us. Nothing, Paige. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? There is nothing in the future for y'all. Why would you even want him at this point? I get it. God ordained. God didn't ordain this. This is not of God. Just because you made vows in front of God does not mean that this is of God. There are couples, abusive couples, couples who are rapists, couples who are murderers that make vows in front of God every day and get married. That does not mean that that union is of God. I am sorry. Now, when I saw the previews from last week, it looked like they got into some sort of argument in the parking lot where he called her a bitch, and she said F you and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know what kind of editing they got going on. I don't know if they're going to show us that on another episode. But anyway, child, that's it. That's all I got. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments, please.